Set, cameras up. Wind's right, time's right, feels right, looks right. Okay, am I rolling? Okay, so let's navigate away from just the direct story of the competing bucks for a second. And I want to kind of bring back into the discussion the fact that we own and manage 57.48 acres. Not even really 58, but we always call it the 58 acres. We round it up rather than round it down. So that is a really, in terms of home range, overlapping home ranges, or even core areas of a mature buck, that's a very, very small fraction of an area that would be inclusive in that buck's home range. But when you think about trying to have more than one mature buck at that age, utilizing and spending a lot of time on the property, looking back at it now, blessed to have as many sightings of socks and the other deer that we have, because you just don't find that often where you have deer of that age that will coexist in that small of an area. So when you're dealing with that kind of a small property, you've got to put all that you can into making, the term of the holes in the bucket. What can I improve on my place that can provide what the surrounding properties do not have? And I think that's the key with our particular small piece, is that we're in big timbered hill country with, as it slopes down in the elevations into the bottoms, there's crop fields, but we're on a wooded ridge, and our clearings contain the food plots that we have developed. Our property has a clover chicory base for our largest food plot. We have 2 or 3 small, quarter, half, and maybe 3/4 of an acre, 3 of those, not a lot, just 3 of those that contain our winter food plots, that as the clover and chicories are dying from frost, then our winter wheat, brassica, and turnips and greens food plots are taking over and providing the reason for those deer to be there in November from the 25th through February the 15th, when they're starting to drop their sheds. That's why they're there. And we are drawing deer from surrounding grounds, and we also know that those fields, they won't be the destination food plot for that deer 365 days of the year, but I'll guarantee you the majority of the times, the days of the year, those deer are spending eating at some point during that 24-hour period on our place. I can't believe this. I don't know how this is worth happening. I just got ready. What I have to show this deer. I think it's broadside at all. Thinking more than anything, I might be out there just for a couple hours of just solo thinking time, and I looked up and I just am staring in disbelief as I see this rack walking down the road, and this buck walks out at 4:10 in the afternoon. My eyes go from his antlers down to immediately as he turns sideways and starts walking across the field to begin to feed. My mind told my heart, that's a 3.5-year-old deer. And this is such an important point that I can't drive home enough. That deer on the 10th day of November looked 2 years older than he did on that 22nd day of December. And had I not known who that deer was and intimately knew him through all the record keeping and the cameras and the surveying and just studying, I knew that deer intimately, I would have argued from that video clip with the best of them that was a 3-year-old deer. So, guys, when you're doing your aging and you're talking to each other in the club, I want you to really consider this. And it's been said to me, but it's proven itself out time and time again. An October the 15th picture of your buck versus a November 15th picture of your buck versus a December 15th picture of your buck, and on into May and June, you will swear up and down that deer is 1 or 2 years older one way or the other. So The ultimate time, the best time to age that deer is when he is in his prime physical conditioning in late October, right before the rut starts, before he begins to lose his weight. Use that as your landmark. That is your goalpost that you stake in the ground, and you base all your information off of that photograph or that series of timing of photographs through that period. That gun is on, like it always is. That deer's down. I haven't killed a buck myself since 2008, and you might think that's pretty poor hunting. And I had a young man that's been sort of asking me questions about deer management. Just last week he came over and ran a coyote trap line with me, and he said, I want to ask you a question, and I don't want to offend you by asking you this. He said, but you've killed some decent deer, but as big as you are into management. Okay, I had to clear some space, the card got full. But he said to me, you haven't killed a buck in a long time, and the bucks that you've killed aren't just giant monsters, And I knew sooner or later that those questions might arise in people's mind. Here this guy is on this show, and he's teaching people how to manage their property, but he doesn't kill a big buck every year. And I kind of reflected back, even prior to that question being raised to me, that I've gotten more enjoyment in the last 5 or 6 years taking my kids and putting my daughters on the best possible bucks that we can grow on our property. And yeah, they're not 190 or 200 inch deer, but they're a very good example of what a mature buck can be here in our part of the world. It's been a long time since I've been able to sit behind a mature buck on the camera in daylight and talk like this and just soak it all up and enjoy this, because it just doesn't happen very often. As I said, I sure wish he wasn't broken up, but I'm sure not gonna turn away this unbelievable gift. I'll say it again. Thank you, Lord. I'm a lucky, blessed guy tonight. He's not a Ross Fogel buck, but he's sure good for our little slice of property here. Even though his rack was all broken up, and he was a shell of his former self that he was a couple months prior, it was just a very surreal moment for me to be looking at a 5.5-year-old deer that I knew personally, and he presented himself to me in such a manner on a day like that, at that time of the day, and it was just the icing on the cake of an incredible day and an incredible year.
There's a place I go, tucked back in the pines, where a green field grows, my own little paradise. I'm thankful for this land and the life that it provides. See, the measure of a man is what he leaves behind. Oh, take what you need and pass it on down. Oh,
Sometimes you just got to get on old Chucky.
Your own sacred
Let him loosen up a little bit.
I am what I am. If you sit me down, I'm gonna talk like this. Hit trails in pine plantations, nothing can be better.
That'd have been good if he hadn't have just bulldozed the camera.